Yo, what is up, everybody? It's the MadRabbit, and today I'm going to explain to you all the things that I do with ICE DPS and DCUO to maximize the damage output that I have. And there's little tips and tricks. If you go through the normal loadout, you're going to do really good damage as ICE anyways. But, when you really want to put on the heavy damage or just maximize your damage in a tactical situation, knowing your powers and where to switch them up and when to activate them, getting the timing right in the raid will help you maximize your DPS with ice powers, right? So first I'm just going to show you the power trees real quick. This is the Storms tree. And these loadouts are all going to be about options, really. Yes, you have the same core base because, ice does have an AM that you got to, play with right now. And since the stats revamp, I have a feeling it's going to take a little bit longer than expected. I feel comfortable in sharing this information with you now so that, if you already saw the first video that I did on ICE, which you can go ahead and check out, this one will go ahead and complement that one. But at the moment, the way I'm speccing out is I go all the way down to Avalanche and Wintry Tempest. Avalanche is the necessary key one here. You can get Blizzard because you do have 2 skill points left over after you spec regularly, as you'll see. And this is the regular spec right here. You go all the way down to Ice Elemental. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to go ahead and check that out. But see, you were to normally just put these 2 in here. I go ahead and get Robot Sidekick and Nanoweave Armor. Although this Nanoweave Armor can be Blizzard, and you can use that within your Ice Elemental. I don't recommend Blizzard right now unless, you don't know where to pop Ice Elemental and you're just in fear that the aggro is going to get you because you do taunt some aggro when you pop Ice Elemental. But moving forward, alright. So some of the things that I do. So you see the loadout that I have now, Wintry Tempest, Ice Bash. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Damage. Alright, Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, Ice Bash, Bitter Winds, Arctic Gust, Reflection. Now, when I come into the game, as soon as I come into the game, since I don't have my supercharge built up, if I'm asked to go into a raid or something like that, and even if I do have my supercharge built up, I just want to use it at certain times, and I have that slot in there like that. Well, when I come into the raid, there's a bunch of ads that you know right before the bosses where you really want to pop your supercharges so that you can do maximum damage and get rid of the bosses quickly. What tends to happen is when a lot of people are doing good DPS and geared up, you'll pop Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, and Ice Bash on a group, and then hit them with Arctic Gust, just to give you an example. And then you kill off the group, and by the time you get to the second group, your Wintry Tempest, your trio here, is still on cooldown. So you can't apply Frostbite to the next group unless there's already an ice person, somebody that's ice in the group. But Arctic Gust isn't going to hit as hard because it's a power interaction that makes it hit, like it does. So basically what you do is you're going to pop Bitter Winds there. And not only that, it's going to act as a shield. It's going to inflict Frostbite, give you another dot, and you're going to be able to spam Arctic Gust. And it'll give you time for Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, and Ice Bash to cool down. Now, what tends to happen in this situation, if you just killed the first group of ads and are moving on to the second group of ads, is once you're almost, let's say they're at 20% health, but Wintry Tempest is already off cooldown, right? I wouldn't pop Wintry Tempest again. I'd probably just spam 2 more Arctic Gust. They're gonna hit as hard, but you're gonna do more damage in those last 2 seconds, killing that second group of ads with 2 more Arctic Gust, than you are recycling this again and then getting to the third group of ads and then having to use this again. Because the ideal situation is you use Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, and Ice Bash, clip with Reflection and your Trinket as soon as you enter combat with ads, spam Arctic Gust until you kill them and get rid of them, and then on your way to the second group of ads, midway there, before you lunge at them, right behind the tank, you pop Bitter Winds. So by the time you get to the second group of ads, Bitter Winds is already active on you, and then you can go ahead and pop Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, Ice Bash, Reflection again, clip anything that you have maybe in your utility belts or whatnot, and then spam Arctic Gust. So you just have constant dots going. Your PI is always active. Arctic Gust is always hitting. Not only that, in between boss fights, when you have 2 or 3 seconds, if you know the cutscenes, if you know the what's it called? If you know the raid, if you just know the timing of the raid, there's moments where you could just, you're just regular playing, right? You just pop in, and you go to your loadouts, you go to damage, and then you just swap it out, and you're ready to go. As long as you're not in combat, it'll let you make that change. And once you have your supercharge ready, you can go ahead and use your supercharge. And then once you use your supercharge in that boss fight, and you're done, and you're going to head on to the other group of ads, if you want to go ahead and do more damage in those hallways, go to your loadout, damage, and swap out Bitter Winds again for Ice Elemental. That's it. That's all you really got to do. That's one thing you can do. Now, as far as y'all know, if you're watching this video, you know Ice already. You know that this is your medium to close range, and you know that this is your long range move, although it does great damage long range and it's constant. Now, sometimes I'll run like this. It just depends on the content, how you feel comfortable and knowing what the powers do. Because you can still clip for all 4 of these together, and you have your close range option and your long range option. If you know you're just going to go long range, and you're going to stay at a distance, like in Olympus Elite, I'd probably run something like this. A shield so that I can pick up a buddy if they go down, or protect myself. Avalanche so I can stay at a distance but do constant damage the entire time. Ice Elemental, because I'm at a distance, I'll be able to go ahead and pop my Ice Elemental and do massive damage from afar. And of course, your AM activator and, the trio, your buff and everything else. So that's another loadout right there. What's another loadout that I use? Okay, so we already went through. Let's go through this one. That's another swap out you can do. You can basically swap out Ice Elemental. Let's say you don't want to use your shield. You're pretty confident in the where you're at, and you're just still charging your supercharges for that raid that's about to come. You're doing a duo or something like that. Hey, use Bitter Winds, and then put Robot Sidekick in your shield. That way you don't have a wasted slot, because you're not really going to be using your shield, because you feel comfortable in the content. You're going to be doing extra damage because, it does more damage than Reflect, and it's going to be constant damage as long as you have, you're doing all this. And if you can time it, as far as, you're approaching the group of ads, and you pop this, see what I'm saying? Wow, the CR differential is crazy. Numbers coming out of here. There was a time in DCUO when you saw 50Ks coming off of there. You blow your mind constantly. Look at that. And that's Avalanche. Well, another thing that you can do. Am I done with the loadouts? Let me make sure that I'm done with the loadouts. Damage. That's another loadout. Of course, you can swap this out. What I'm saying is you can swap these things out and optimize your loadout to whatever you need as far as the situation goes, so that you can do damage. And I'm talking about doing it within the actual raids, because if you spec out like this, you'll have these powers available to you. Another thing that you can do is you can, as you notice, if I have this loadout, I'm going to go ahead and press this armory. I'm within combat, so, but you see, I have that loadout with Bitter Winds in this armory right now. If you have the armories, take advantage of the armories. Now, over here, let's go ahead and switch again. This is the one where I have the Blizzard as part of the armory. Because let's say that I'm already running this version, right? Let's say I'm running this version, but I see my supercharge bar is full and it's a great moment to use it. Well, instead of swapping, I could just pop my armory, and all of a sudden, I'm going to have Ice Elemental ready. And by the time that I get rid of those 2 supercharges, most likely you'll be off cooldown. The combat, I think it takes 5 minutes, but you'll probably be off cooldown. You'll be able to switch back if necessary. Now, another thing that I want to go ahead and explain to you, if you're using this loadout, because you may lose damage if you don't understand something. Okay, now if you're still using this loadout, right? If you have a window to pop it before you get to them and you have Winter Tempest open, use it. In this situation, the one that I showed you before, you pop it, then you get to them and you do your damage, right? Now, let's say you're already in there and you're doing damage, right? And it comes off cooldown. Your option is always going to be Wintry Tempest. You're not gonna go into that unless, like, you're not gonna choose Bitter Winds over Arctic Gust, even if it's in your loadout. You only do it if you're, between ads, or if you have the time where you don't lose out on a good hit with an Arctic Gust, if you know what I mean. Now, maximizing your damage as far as clipping all this together. Well, as you know now, Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, Ice Bash, and Reflect are all clippable at the same time, as are your trinkets, like I'm running here. I'm running my Might and Buff trinket, and I'm using Boo trinket that also buffs my Might. Note here, don't press them at the same time. Try to cycle through these because they'll override each other, and you'll either get 1 or 2 buffs, not both of them at the same time. Another thing that I do that I save in different armories is I always have Orbital Strike on my DPS, but notice that I have backup here, and in my other armory I have, what is it that I have? Supply Drop. Supply Drop, you can maximize some damage out of Supply Drops as well, especially if you pop Ice Elementals in them. So what you really want to do is have it available in your inventory. Really easy, and in this slot, especially if you're playing in PC, because all you got to really do is right click and it'll go ahead and switch over. See? So if I'm playing and I'm doing my damage, right? And that was vanilla way to go ahead and start it. I just want to go ahead and show you. By the way, you can go ahead and clip. That's how I actually do it. So let me go ahead and show you that way. If I were to go ahead and clip all this, you see how you can clip the dudes, the sidekicks, the robots? How many names am I going to give them? I don't know. Alright. But you see how you can clip them in there and save some time. Hey, that's the name of the game. Damage per second, right? DPS. So, okay. You got the robots doing damage. You see how it's on a cooldown? Hey, go back, switch it out. And you can still do supply drop. See what I'm saying? And now that you got supply drop it, so you don't forget, if you get a chance to, switch it back out. You know when's a good moment to switch it out? Watch this. You know when you're playing right and you're in Arctic Gust, you know you got to spam for Arctic Gust. If you're in a safe position, as soon as you start spamming an Arctic Gust, go into your inventory, swap it out. By the time you're back, you don't lose damage. That's another tip to go ahead and do more damage. And utilize the most out of this slot and these 2 trinkets that boost your damage and boost your DPS and boost your damage out. Another thing you may notice, I run with Nitro Sorter's Olympian. What the hell? Why not? Yeah, I buff myself. I buff myself every time I get a chance to, and that's how I run. Cause shit, like I said, why not? I'm not trying to make the content easier. I'm just trying to, my job's DPS. I'm gonna fucking wreck you. That's the mindset when I go into the raid. I'm gonna wreck everything in my path. So this is basically my setup right now. I'll show you quickly. You can go ahead and pause this if you like. Got Orbital Strike, Supply Drop. So you see I'm modded full Might. And only got the affinity bonuses where needed. I don't have any, I only have 1 elite piece right now. Saving up my stacks, but that's another story. Saving up my coins to buy the elite gear. So, but at 188, man, I'm running against 190s and I'm still blowing them out of the water. Sometimes not by a lot, but I'm still up there. And being it that I can be in first place against like 190s at 188 tells me that I'm doing something right. Especially when I go against Ice. I've gone against Ice. I've gone against the same power. So getting your speed right in all your clips, understanding what you can clip, maximizing your damage, understanding that the actual raid or whatever you're running has a momentum. It starts building a momentum once you start getting used to it. It has a rhythm, better said. And once you understand that rhythm, you'll understand where you can go into your loadout, switch this out, go into your inventory, switch that out. You know what I mean? Use the fact that this has a cast time. And while this has a cast time, you can go into your inventory and swap things out, like sodas or things like that if you run out of sodas. Just make sure you're at a safe distance. Okay, what else? What else can I show you that I do to maximize that DPS with ICE? I'm not gonna show you my skill points. Just spec out for Maiden as DPS. You should know this. You're watching the advanced guide now. Come on. I mean, another thing that you can do, hey, this is a video. It's got a comment section in the bottom. If you got some comments, some of the things I may have missed, go ahead and let me know. Oh, talking about that, look, another thing. Okay, another thing that you can do to maximize damage. And this is a tricky one. I'll explain why it's a tricky one, but I'll explain it now. And it works in raids, but it doesn't work in here. That's why it's a tricky one. In here, if you just go Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, Ice Bash, and then spam Arctic Gust and start getting those numbers, if you start clipping, you see that? And if you have rifle, it's an AoE, it'll hit all of them. If you start clipping tap range before your cycle of Wintry Tempest, Cold Snap, and Ice Bash, 1, 2, and 3, and your cycle of Arctic Gust, you see the white precision tick? You'll maximize your damage. Now this takes some practice so that you can get the timing down. But if you notice, you can press the button as soon as that front foot comes back. See when the Arctic Gust is up and that front boom right there? Front foot is forward and then it comes back. As soon as that front foot comes back, that's when you want to tap range. And then tap your power so that you can clip into it, just depending on where you are in your rotation. Like as I'm showing you here. You see only the beginning of the animation. The less of the animation you see, the better and faster you're doing it. Now the reason this is weird is if you do this in here, using the tap method with the parsers, I don't know if it's because I'm a human and timing that clip varies, but I tend to get parsers with lesser numbers if I just do this. If I do this, my parsers come out a little bit higher. But I haven't let that convince me that in the raid it helps me get more damage. Why? Because you're static in here. You're just hitting dummies. But in the raid, there will be moments that if you're active and paying attention, you will get your chance to go ahead and throw in that tap clip. You know what I mean? That tap range in there. And the more that you do that, it starts becoming a precision dot for ICE. And those are the ways that I can think of to share with you to maximize your damage with ICE. I wasn't really here to show off. You guys seen it. If you've played ICE, you know what I'm here to do. But I really just wanted to share with y'all some of the tips and tricks that I do, knowing that stats revamp is still a bit ways away. But what I do to go ahead and maximize that damage and just like I said, wreck whoever's in front of me. I want to thank y'all for watching. This is the MadRabbit, and I'll see you in game. Get ready to turn it up. That fucking intro was a shit, huh? It took me like 2 hours. Fucking crazy. For 2 hours for like 20 seconds. I had to get that jump just right. I didn't want to tell you at the beginning of the video though. I didn't want to spoil it. Alright y'all, take it easy, and thanks for watching again. I'm out. Hey, if you want to go ahead and see the tactics that I talk about in this video in combat and DCUO, go ahead and click on this video right here. And even though I'm talking about the stats revamp, the footage is actual raid, and I'm using the tactics that I'm talking about in the video. So go ahead and click on that video, and see you in the next one. Peace.